left to Elliott. Oh, the bicycle!
The shot, Bedoya with a goal, 1-0 Union.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Union Insider presented by Bimbo Bakeries USA, where we sit down and talk all things Philadelphia Union. Alongside Sebastian Lintou and Sheanon Williams, I'm Marisa. After almost a month on the road, the Union returned to Subaru Park on Saturday to face Eastern Conference rival NYCFC for the second time this season. The Union had a 2-0 lead up until the 86th minute, where they conceded a late one to New York. However, despite the shaky finish, the Union closed out this match victorious. They got the 3 points and also a season sweep of New York. So couple this victory with their 2-0 defeat of Nashville last Wednesday, and the Unions are winners of their last two matches. Speaking specifically to this New York match, who do you give the most credit to?
I would think probably like all the guys who kind of stepping into the team, like Maglin, who came, as a starter. We saw Bueno, who came, for Bedoya after 20 minutes in the game. And I will give Sullivan a lot of credit too as well with his game in Nashville. He confirmed again at home to give an assist to Martin on the first goal. So all those guys really brought something into the team, good energy to make sure we get a win at home against New York City FC, and they did a good job. And the last thing maybe I will give to Andre, who came back into the team and make a huge save right at the end to make sure we got like the win 2-1. So all of those guys in coming back to the team brought a little bit more energy into the group.
Yeah, Andre Blake was back doing Andre Blake things in net. Sheanon, for you?
For me, it's going to be Andre. I think that he's the big piece that's been missing from the Union's last, let's say, 5 games, and him being at the Gold Cup. I think having him back has been a huge addition, and we know what he brings from the defensive side of the ball, and we know that he comes up with a big save time and time again. So he did that again on the weekend, and we'll look more for that as we move into the season.
It's been a minute since the Union last played in front of their hometown faithful, and on Saturday night, the Boys in Blue put on a show. The Union served up a 2-1 victory over NYCFC in a rematch of the last 2 Eastern Conference finals. If you didn't have to brave the heat and humidity this weekend to see it all in person, don't worry. Here's a look back on how it all went down at Subaru Park.
Okay, guys, look, it should feel great to be back home after a really long road trip, okay? Let's get the crowd into the game early, okay? Let's feed off the energy in the building, okay? We know what we need to do against this group. We have an opportunity now to really keep them down at the bottom and move ourselves up to the top. It's hard to do, though. It's going to be very difficult, and we need intensity from minute 1. Let's have our best performance so far this season before we go into the League Cup break. Let's go.
We're going to get out there. We must at least measure intensity. We're back in home. Let's make sure we win this game and get 3 points. We stay compact, and let's get another clean sheet. We must get another shutout. We're going to hit him in transitions. Let's go win this game. Win it 3. 1, 2, 3. Come on.
Azua in the middle. Has Martinez arriving as well. Sullivan floating it towards Martinez! It took him so long to score his first goal. It's taken him just about 3 weeks to get number 2. The Union opened the scoring. It's 1-0. Given away to Gazdag. Here's Quinn Sullivan. Marisa making the save, keeping it 1-0. 6 goals on the season. Donovan, Gazdag, the back heel. Can Donovan get back on it? Oh, it's a mess from New York City. It is a second. It's the first MLS goal for Chris Donovan, and it might be all the Union need to head into the All-Star break with 3 points. To the back post, looking for Keaton Parks. Bizo important, only as far as Jason. Oh, somehow Andre Blake made a save. Gabriel Pereira, ridiculous around Elliott. And then into Jason. Oh, Bizo the block. Second chance is in. New York City FC finally breaks through. They pull one back, and it's game on in Philadelphia. Over to Rodriguez. Clip to O'Toole. O'Toole sends it in. Parks tried the bicycle. Ends it with Pereira. Blake making the save. Preserving the lead late for Philly. There it is. A 5th straight win for Philadelphia over their rivals, New York City FC.
Enough to give you 3 points. Enough to get you into the All-Star break.
They head to the All-Star break with 3 points. Andre Blake saving all 3 at the end. Philadelphia 2, New York City FC 1.
Heading into this match against NYCFC, head coach Jim Curtin said one of the last things he told this team was to make sure to make this performance one of the best of the season so they can end league play on a really high note. How much did that kind of come to fruition on Saturday night?
I think Saturday night was a good way to end the league play and go into a break while they go into Leagues Cup. I think that you never want to go in with a loss or a bad performance, and I thought that they had a good enough performance to build that confidence and take that into Leagues Cup play. So hopefully they'll be able to continue this run of form that they've been on over these past 2 games.
We talked about the big impact that Andre Blake made in this match. He was one of the 5 lineup changes Jim Curtin made on Saturday, and Jamaica's loss in the Gold Cup turned out to be the Union's gain. Where has his presence felt the most when he's back in net?
I think it's just his leadership of the back line. You can see like him, always wanted the greatness from his front, from his back, in front of him. So you see like he was still pissed at some of the defender of some plays. You saw him, always ask him to step up, to keep, the high pressure from his defenders. And even if we are winning 2-0 and at the end, making the good save for the team, it's kind of to see him. He always want to get a clean sheet. He always want to get his best performance for the team, even if you don't have much to do in that game. And right at the end, he had to make a save. So you see him really like stepping his game all the time. And now I think with Alejandro Bedoya being injured, the armband is going to go to Andre, so he has a little bit more of an impact too for the rest of his team and not just his defender.
Do you see any difference in terms of confidence of the back line when Andre is in net?
I wouldn't say it's confidence. I just think it's knowing that he's going to come up with a big save. There's not going to be the soft goal given up where it's been that way in a couple games this season when he's not in goal. So I think that really it just adds to making sure that you do your job and you know that the guy behind you is going to do his, and he always comes up with the big saves. He's come up with them all season, and he'll continue to do that as long as he's in net.
We're stepping away for a bit, but first it's time for this week's Union Trivia question presented by United Concordia. Which player has suffered the most fouls in Union history? Find out the answer later on in the show. We are back with This Week in Union History presented by Premier Orthopedics. This week in 2015, the Union advanced to Open Cup semifinals, beating the New York Red Bulls in PKs at Red Bull Arena. Our very own Sheanon Williams scored the first goal in penalties, coming in as a sub for who else but Sebastian Letou in the 60th minute. Welcome back to Union Insider presented by Bimbo Bakeries. I'm Marisa. This is Sebastian Letou, and that is Sheanon Williams. Guys, what was your favorite part about being each other's teammates?
What I like about being with Sheanon, it's like he was not shy of going on his right side, so I can go inside when I play as a one midfielder, which was not my favorite position, but I like to play with Sheanon on this side because he was always like going as well. So even if I come inside, I know even without looking, I can play the ball to him on the right. So it was kind of fun to always know that he was coming and taking his right side, so I can be more in the middle of the field, so then I can score the goal. So it was great to play with him.
For me, it was just his work ethic. He was always moving, always running, always making himself available, whether it be running the channels, which was most of the time, but it was something that made it easy as a defender when you're trying to play longer balls, when you're trying to find forwards' feet. He made himself available, and that's always something that's great to have as a defender when you're trying to play out of the back.
And guys, I love the love here.
I give him few assists and he gives me some assists too, so he was nice.
We're always setting each other up here on Union Insider. The MLS regular season is now on hold for the next month as a new competition is just a day away from kicking off. That's right, Leagues Cup is finally here. If you're sitting there thinking you don't even know where to start with Leagues Cup, well, that's why we're here, to break it all down for you on a new segment called Bracket Breakdown presented by Subaru. By definition, the Leagues Cup is an annual competition between all 29 MLS teams and all 18 Liga MX teams. It will be a World Cup-style competition in which 77 matches will take place over the course of a month. The group stage kicks off this week, where 3 teams will compete for 2 spots in the knockout stages. Each win in the group stage is worth 3 points, like normal. The only difference between this World Cup-style tournament and the actual World Cup, there are no ties. Each team gets a point at the end of regulation if they are tied, and an extra point is given out for whoever wins in penalty kicks after that. So why does this tournament matter? Well, the top 3 finishers, they get a spot in next year's CONCACAF Champions League, with the winner going straight to the round of 16. Whew, I know that was a lot of information to take in, which is why we're going to break it all down with Seba and Sheanon. This is such an exciting tournament. The format is very unique. We're seeing a lot of clubs and teams play against each other that we normally wouldn't see match up. So what is the significance of this tournament, not just this season, but going further?
I think it just shows now more rivalry, between the MLS club and now the Liga MX club, which is kind of great to get, I think, in the North American. Like the level of MLS really went very, very high now since a couple of years. The Liga MX is still very high, but now you can really see about the talk. We always have about who is the best team, the Mexican team or the MLS team. So it's going to be very fun, tournament to watch. Little group stage, so 2 out of 3, team in each group are going to qualify for the knockout round. So lots of exciting games, lots of, teams that we are going to discover for us as Mexican, teams that we don't watch as much. But it's going to be great to see, I think, a lot of fans going to the stadium, supporting Mexican teams, supporting an MLS team. And I think it's going to be very exciting to have this tournament, for all the years to come.
And what's exciting about this tournament is when Liga MX teams and MLS clubs usually play against each other in CONCACAF Champions League, we always say, well, Mexican teams are at the mid-season point of their schedule, and it's tough for these MLS clubs because they're at the beginning of everything and still working that rust off. This is completely flipped in this situation. What kind of effect do you think that's going to have?
I think it's going to be tough for the Mexican teams, like you've seen it be tough for MLS teams to get themselves going as it's the beginning of their season. A lot of the teams are maybe 3 games into their season, while MLS is now almost 75% of the way done. So I think that teams are going to be in mid-season form, and you're going to see a lot of players that are ready to go, whereas these Liga MX teams, it takes a couple games. You see a lot of mistakes in these first 4 or 5 games for the Liga MX team. So it's going to be a different format in the terms of, like you said, it being flip-flopped on where the clubs are in their own respective seasons.
Yeah, and a little advantage too for the MLS team since all the matches are, happening in the US soil. So a little bit advantage, I think, for the MLS team, knowing that, like Sheanon says, they're at their peak right now physically, and the Mexican team are not probably ready totally yet in their, physical abilities. So it's going to be interesting to see, but a little bit more advantage, I think, for the MLS because they have the home advantage in some of the stadiums they are playing.
Speaking of Leagues Cup, let's get into our first team report presented by Green Mountain Energy. The Union will be playing their first match of the group stage on Saturday, hosting Liga MX side Tijuana to kick off a month-long journey towards another trophy. Let's take a listen to what head coach Jim Curtin had to say about the Union heading into the competition and their matchup against Tijuana.
Yeah, it's an exciting time for the league. Obviously, we shut down from league play now and focus on the Leagues Cup. A new opponent in Tijuana, which will present some challenges. We've been scouting them for quite some time now and know their roster pretty well, their strengths and weaknesses. But yeah, it'll be a really tough test at home. It's an exciting competition that we know that we'll host in Subaru Park if we continue to win and progress through the tournament. So that's a real motivation to put our best foot forward. We'll take the games very serious, and this is, again, the inaugural Leagues Cup, and we want to lift a trophy.
All right, the fellas are back with me to break down this matchup against Tijuana. They're currently 1-1-1 in Apertura and finished Clausada 15th in the league with a record of 3-7-7. For fans at home who aren't super familiar with this club, what can they expect from this club, Tijuana?
I mean, like every Mexican team, I think the technique and the possession of this team should be, probably very good. We probably will see them, getting most of the ball, and the Union, trying to be counter-attack. We always know when they try to play, very technical, playing, forward, really pushing numbers, on the side. So it should be some opportunity for the Union to go some good counter-attacks. But since they are just at the beginning of the season, I think the coaching staff of Tijuana are still looking to see who is our best 11. So we might see different players as they play maybe their last league game. So it's going to be interesting too for Jim Curtin to see which way they are going to play. But I think it's what you usually expect from Mexican teams.
That's an interesting point that we might see rosters that haven't really been lined up yet in league play for Tijuana. What goes into prep-wise for a league that you don't typically play against? What changes?
Obviously, you're going to scout the teams like you would any team, whether it be MLS or Liga MX. But for Tijuana, they're not going to have as much game tape right now as you would normally see midway through a season. So it's going to be the coaching staff really putting together a game plan that they think Tijuana is going to try to play to. So I think that it's going to be important for them to really focus on the 3 games that they've had this year and those players that have played in those games, and then trying to really just adjust on the fly and be able to make in-game adjustments as things go.
For both of you as former players, what is the most exciting part about playing in a tournament like this against teams that you might never face in any other situation?
I mean, it's just exciting for the prize at the end. You know, it's another competition to win one trophy. It's the first time ever of this tournament, so you can really like be in the history book. If you're the first one to win this tournament, I think it's a huge accomplishment. It's going to be like remembered forever. So I think it's just right here the motivation, and of course playing. I think the Mexican team against the MLS team, like I said, it's a great competition to kind of now see, hey, who are the best, league in the North American, and I think all the players are motivating for this to really show what they can do, and you are going to see a lot of Mexican fans in the American stadium, a lot of MLS fans in their own stadium. So I think it's going to be a great atmosphere overall, and I'm looking forward to see all those games with the excitement from all the fans.
When Union Insider returns, we'll give you our keys to the game ahead of the Union's first League Cup match against Tijuana. We'll be back after this. Time for this week's Chick-fil-A Nugget of the Week. After their win versus NYCFC on Saturday, the Union are the first team in MLS history, excluding the shootout era, to win 17 home games in a 20-game span. Hey everyone, welcome back to Union Insider presented by Bimbo Bakeries USA. I'm Marisa. The Union kick off League's Cup with a group stage game against Liga MX side Tijuana on Saturday. And we talked about this game kind of on the peripheral, but let's get into the details with our keys to the game presented by Subaru. Seba, as always, you're up first. Your key.
Thank you very much. I will go with the high pressure, knowing that Tijuana, still at the beginning of the season, I don't think they're still in the rhythm as a team. So playing for the first time in this stadium, I think the Union really need to put a high pressure, kind of try to go a little bit like higher up the field that we saw maybe in a couple of games, but it was because of, all playing every 3 days. I think with a full week of preparation, everybody should be ready physically. So I think make it difficult for them the first 15 minutes, see if maybe we can score early goal will be one of the key for me to kind of put the doubt into the mind of the Tijuana player, and then have, more opportunities than we saw the past game against New York City FC.
And Sheanon?
For me, it's going to be piggybacking off of Seba a little bit, is can they create chances off that high pressure? Can they do a good job of turning over Tijuana in their own end and then creating chances, whether it be for the forwards or for the midfielders? I think they can do a better job of when they win the ball up high. Can they get a shot on goal? Can they get a corner out of it? I think that'll help keep the pressure on Tijuana and hopefully get them all 3 points.
We know the Union faithful always show up so strong at Subaru Park. That is absolutely no question. But how much of an effect will that home crowd be in a match like this against a team from a completely different league? I
mean, it's going to be very important, but I think we're going to see some Tijuana fan coming as well to Subaru Park. So it's going to be interesting to see which fan are going to be the loudest. I'm sure the Union fan are going to be showing up and really be very loud to support their team. But I think the Tijuana fan will be there as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see what environment is going to be in this stadium for that game. But it's going to be pretty exciting, and I think the motivation of the player are going to be very high. So it's a challenge for the Sons of Ben too. So if you're watching at home, Sons of Ben, you have to bring it, right? Definitely. Let's take a look now at some of the action across MLS on Around the League presented by Torque. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the player of the match day, which was Real Salt Lake's young star Diego Luna. He scored a brace for RSL's en route to their 3-1 victory over New York Red Bulls on Saturday night. And of course, the biggest news in arguably all of the world of football, Inter Miami officially unveiled Lionel Messi as their newest signing, as well as former FC Barcelona teammate Sergio Busquets. The GOAT will join Busquets in making their debut for Inter Miami in League's Cup against Cruz Azul on July 21st. We're stepping away one last time, but first, here's the answer to this week's Union Trivia question. CJ Sapong has the most fouls suffered in Union history with a whopping 275 drawn over his 4 seasons with the Union. Union Insider returns after this. Starting this year, every Union League match is on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. Sign up today to make sure you don't miss a minute of the action. You can also check out the live Whip Around show, MLS 360, or if you missed out on the live, you can relive every moment with full match replays. And get this, if you're a T-Mobile subscriber, you get the whole year of Season Pass content free of charge. All right, gentlemen, we have made it to the final segment on Union Insider presented by Bimbo Bakeries USA, which means, of course, it's time for all state players to watch. You know the deal. Seb and Sheanon select a player to watch for their upcoming matchup against Tijuana. Sheanon, just real quick, who was your player to watch last week?
Who
I
was
think
that?
I had Julian Carranza. Great game
and yeah,
from the stands.
From the stands.
I saw him with the binoculars, so I thought he had a good game watching and really supported his teammates well. So
Yeah.
definitely
solid choice.
Solid 10.
Solid choice. Sheanon, do you want to give us your pick for this week?
Julian Carranza. No, I'm just kidding. This week I went with Quinn Sullivan. I think over the last 2 games he's gotten to start and he's really taken that role and been really good at the opening of games and bringing that energy. And that's been something that the Union have really needed. So I think looking for him to continue that streak and to get some more minutes in this League's Cup.
And for me, with the absence of Alejandro Bedoya, I really enjoyed Jesus Bueno, how he came into the game and the energy he brings. Jim Curtin really enjoyed, his play too, what he brought to the team. So I think this game really fit his style, so I can see that Bueno can have a good impact into this game.
Why specifically does this game fit into his style?
I think the way he plays. He has kind of like a mix of between Jose Martinez in his aggression, how he loves to win the ball, but then he's not shy to go forward. He finishes in the box, and I think he can really help the team in both ways of the field, in the midfield to win the ball, and then moving forward and help the forwards.
This will be an interesting task for the Union as a whole too, so we cannot wait to watch. Well, that's going to do it for us. The Union will be taking on Tijuana in their first match of the League's Cup group stage, 8 p.m. at Subaru Park on Saturday. We will be back here next week to talk all about it. For Seba, Sheanon, and our entire crew, I'm Marisa. Have a great weekend, and thanks for watching.